Hi there, it's Ian here, and you're watching Grumpy Opinions, the show where I'm going to tell you all about what I think of films, TV shows, games, and life in general. Let's get on with the show. Game of Thrones from HBO is a political fantasy historical drama set in the land of Westeros, where very, very slowly winter is coming. It's taken 5 seasons already. Season 5, Episode 2, The House of Black and White, is a great starting point for the new threads of Season 5. As it turns out, that Brienne of Tarth and Podrick ended up at exactly the same tavern that Sansa and Peter Baelish have gone to. I think, to be honest, it's the only tavern in the King's Road, as we've managed to be here every single season. Anyway, Brienne does a wee speech, and it goes over a bit as well as it did with Arya. So then she ends up having to make a break for it, and after having to save wee Pod for some of Baelish's men, they regroup, and I think find a little respect for each other. Meanwhile, down in King's Landing, Cersei's been consolidating her power base by putting people she likes onto the small council, much to the chagrin of Master Pycelle, and the consternation of her Uncle Kevin. No, really, his name's actually Kevin Lannister. She also has another go at Jaime when they get sent a warning from the family of dead Prince Oberyn. So Jaime decides that he's going to go to Dorne and rescue their daughter Myrcella, who's a political prisoner there, and on the way, he enlists everybody's favourite brusque and sarcastic sellsword, Bronn. We also get to see in Dorne, Myrcella actually seems to be having a nice enough time, but Oberyn's widow isn't happy at all, and she kind of wants to hurt that wee girl out of vengeance. But luckily, Oberyn's sickly big brother is having absolutely none of that. Yeah, that's right, Dr. Bashir, you get her telt. Meanwhile, again, over the narrow sea, Tyrion is making the slow journey across land in a giant armoured wagon, and Arya has just arrived in Braavos, city of giant statues, money, and weird two-tone doors. And then she gets directed to this house of the black and white, and an old codger there turns her away. After she waits on a doorstep or two, she leaves and goes back to hunting pigeons. But luckily, that old dude appears just in time to save her from having to kill a bunch of wee dafty bullies in the street. And then it turns out he's actually Jaqen H'ghar. Yay! She's going to learn to be an assassin. Things have been a lot less fun for Daenerys, because although she managed to capture a son of the Harpy and decided to put him on trial, one of her wee free slave pals didn't understand this Westory justice idea and instead left him for dead in the streets, all murdered and stuff. And that left Daenerys with no choice at all but to take him out and have him publicly executed. And she calls out to the people, and they say, "Mercy, mercy," and as usual, Dany ends up making the wrong move and has his head cut off, and that leads to a massive angry turn from the previously really grateful people of Meereen. And she seems a bit sad about this, and in her moment of despair, her missing dragon suddenly pops up to say hello, and then promptly buggers off again. It's all really a little bit symbolic, isn't it? Finally, up by the wall, Stannis has forgiven Jon Snow for mercy killing Mance Rayner, because he can't really fault the logic. But instead of punishment, he offers the Bastard of Winterfell a chance at legitimacy. Yeah, he's going to make him a Stark, free him from all his obligations to the Wall, and let it lead an army back to take the North. Amazing! And Jon's seriously considering it, right up until the night of the vote for the leadership of the Night's Watch. Because Sam ends up giving a wee "Oh Captain, my Captain" speech and puts Jon forward as a candidate. And would you believe it? He wins by 1 vote. Phew, what an episode. So what did I think? Well, The House of Black and White was an interesting episode with some great moments. I'm really seeing now how much more than last week, how far and ranging the plot has become in Game of Thrones. It's fantastic that almost half this episode was spent outside of Westeros itself, either in Meereen, Braavos, or on the road between cities. It really adds to the feeling that there's a massive world out there. We're also getting to see the characters move in different directions. It's great because now Jaime has something to do, which is also different from the books, and also Brienne and Podrick have found a new direction to head in. And maybe one reason I like these developments is they are different from the books, so as a book reader, it feels like I'm getting a wee surprise now and again. It was also fantastic to see how see-through Cersei's attempts at power plays fall flat, and how her Uncle Kevin just ups and tells her right to her face that he can see what she's doing, and then he buggers off home to King's Landing in disgust. Aye, nice one, pal. And then the stuff at the wall was fun as well, and some great wee subtle performances, and a nice scene with Stannis' disabled daughter and Sam's squeezed Gilly, where they have a nice wee chat about the grayscale and how it turns people evil and monstrous. I mean, could this be a foreshadow for something coming later in the season? We shall see. But of course, I did have a couple of grumps with this episode. Nothing that major. But the entire seeking out the son of the Harpy sequence felt like something that ought to have been a kid's cartoon. It was really cheesy and daft and could have been done much better. In fact, it kind of smacked like they were filling time and giving the actors playing Grey Worm and Dario something to do so we don't forget who they are. Also in the storyline, it kind of smacks of daft that Dany is at this point still so clueless about the world. I mean, she's meant to be educated, but not that streetwise. And yet, she's been thrust into power, this little precocious girl. And she could do with actually listening to her advisors now and again. And yeah, I know that her character is all about her doing her own thing and then at the last minute usually pulling out a really clever move that no one else thought of or expected. But it's kind of badly offset with how little she gets and understands about the real world. And it's a problem I had in the books as well. And it's really just a personal gripe about the character rather than the criticism of the writing in either the show or the books. Another issue I've got is with the adaptation. I mean, I know I said it earlier about liking new bits and the changes, but some of them just don't work. I mean, in the book, the whole John becomes Lord Commander segment was spaced over several chapters, and had Sam doing a brilliantly clever electioneering move where he managed to convince some folk to tactically vote for John to stop somebody else getting in power. In this case, he simply stood up and went, "John's great, better than the rest, yay," and everyone voted for him. And it was nice and it was feel good, but it felt kind of undeserved and unrealistic, as if these men would just vote in their wee, possibly traitorous laddie who'd only been there a little while as their top dog, over the top of these two old grizzled experienced men who've been there for years. But otherwise, it's been a good episode, and I'll be interested to see how the storyline pans out, and if it gets a bit too stretched. Now hell, they've already had to ditch the entire Greyjoy kingship subplot, but we will see. And for now, I've been Ian, and these have been my grumpy opinions.